It's time for another episode of The Real Crimes of Kurri Kurri, where we learn more about trucking crimes. When court sat on the 11th of March, there were quite a few heavy vehicle cases. Of course, most of these offences are usually dealt with via a fine. However, these truck drivers had elected to have the court deal with the matter. Of course, these defendants usually live far from Kurri, but they return here because the offence allegedly occurred here. However, on this day, only a few turned up and many went on to plead guilty anyways. What I'm observing is the case could have avoided court and just been dealt with via a fine. Anyways, did the truck driver who was granted an adjournment last time because he was on a cruise for his wife's 50th birthday turn up? No. So court proceeds in his absence in the interest of justice, convicts the driver and fines him $400. The driver was also ordered to pay professional costs to the heavy vehicle prosecutor who had travelled to Kurri for the case. That's the risk I think you face by electing the matter to be dealt with by the court. You may be ordered to pay professional fees to the prosecutor. They did say out loud what it cost the truck driver to have the prosecutor here, but I won't say. I think it's up to the individual defendants to find out what professional costs you are at risk of when deciding to elect and then don't show up. Next case was a Sydney truck driver who showed up but then pled guilty. His case was transferred to Fairfield Local Court for sentencing, where an Arabic interpreter could be available. I didn't learn about trucks in this case, but I did learn that Kurri doesn't have the capacity to accommodate interpreters. They just don't have the technology needed. There was also another Sydney truck driver who didn't show up, but contacted the court and pled guilty. They will be sentenced at Liverpool Local Court. Then another driver who pled guilty via email. The charge was failing to work the standard hours, meaning they drove for too long. They will be sentenced at Parkes Local Court. Then a truck driver who lives in Queensland and is currently stuck in floodwaters. Of course, parts of Queensland and New South Wales are still recovering from the recent cyclone Albert. The driver has emailed the court. The offence is for the truck being the wrong dimensions. Maybe the truck was too long or too wide. They also have a case at Coffs Harbour Local Court for also being the wrong dimensions. So it's decided to transfer the Kurri case to join the Coffs Harbour case. Last case was a truck driver who had elected, turned up, pled guilty, but then argued his case. He was unrepresented. He had been charged with failing to comply with the direction in October 2024. The guy has been driving trucks since 2010 and has a good driving record. This is his first case. He explains he was southbound and his truck was empty. I take it to mean he was on the freeway returning to Sydney. He went into the Weighbridge lane and thought the sign said return to highway. He explains it's rare to be directed into the Weighbridge, so he just assumed it was like the usual return to highway situation. However, this time it was directing him to the Weighbridge. I think he made good arguments, in particular arguing that it's not like he completely disregarded the Weighbridge lane and stayed on the freeway. Rather, he confused the signs. The magistrate acknowledged that he had travelled far to be here on that day. In the end, there's no fine, there's no professional costs awarded to the prosecutor, and the case was dismissed. So this time we got to hear about Weighbridge signs. It's a bit lost on me because I don't drive a truck. However, relevant for truck drivers to follow the directions on the Weighbridge sign, or you might end up here at Kurri Kurri Local Court.